Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Elisa Olson, Director of Communications for the City of Corpus Christi. We do appreciate you joining us today, and for those of you following us online, thank you so much for giving us your time. Our priority is to keep the public informed with clear and accurate information, and so thank you for helping us do that. We will start this morning with a progress report on recent developments, actions taken last week, and future developments. A summary of these updates will then be provided in Spanish, and after that we will open the floor for questions from the media. When we do get to the Q&A, please wait for the microphone to reach you so that the people on the live stream can actually hear your question. And we do encourage you to ask questions as well. Please ask as many questions as you like during this media event. It is now my pleasure to introduce our city manager, Peter Zanoni.
Good. Thank you, Elisa. Good morning, everyone. I am Peter Zanoni, the city manager for the city of Corpus Christi, and also representing Corpus Christi Water this morning. So we want to thank you for being here at our briefing, either in person or watching remotely. In our audience today, we do have members of Chris 6 TV, including Michael Salazar and Stephanie Molina, also representing Telemundo as well. And so we thank you for being here, and we thank those who are listening online. Also joining us this morning is Michael Gibson from KIII, and we thank you for being here, Michael. So we do want to thank the community as well, who continue to follow these weekly updates. I don't have the number, but it's been a couple of months now that we've been doing these consistently each Friday, and we've had a few on Thursday. But they do help the community know how we're managing through this drought of record. And so, as Elisa said, today we'll be providing updates on our water supply projects. We'll talk to the community about our level 1 water emergency policies that City Council will consider. We'll talk about an important day next Tuesday. City Council has several important things on their agenda related to water. I do want to remind our community, and we'll get more into it later, about our water portal that was developed so our community can have access to information on how much water they use each day and also over the past 12 months. There's a couple of takeaways that you'll hear through this. I'll probably recap them at the end if we had like 3 bullets. One includes Lake Texana. It is over 100% capacity, or at least at 100% capacity. We're going to talk in this presentation about water rates because we're going to change the schedule this year to focus on water rates and increasing water rates and wastewater rates sooner rather than later. And then we'll also talk about the work that'll take place on Tuesday. Also the third bullet is actually the releases that we do for environmental purposes out of our Western Reservoir system. We want to talk about a proposal we're going to be making to the state to have a temporary reprieve on doing those releases. So that's kind of an overview of what we'll cover today. So let's begin by talking about lake levels, as we usually do. And so we have some great news this week compared to last week on our lake levels. Because of the rains, especially this past late Tuesday night, I guess, and early Wednesday morning, we know we had tremendous rainfall that hit right in the perfect spot of our western reservoirs. Choke Canyon Reservoir today is just under 8%, 7.9%. These are from this morning's readings from the Texas Water Development Board website. Lake Corpus Christi is at 18.2%, a tremendous rebound in Lake Corpus Christi. And so our combined capacity for these 2 western reservoirs is 10.8%, almost 11%. Let's compare it to last week. So last week, Choke Canyon was at 7.3%. So in 1 week, it's up. Lake Corpus Christi was at 8.5%. Excuse me, Lake Corpus Christi was at 11.9%. And so today it's at 18%. And then the combination of 10.8 today, last week it was 8.5. And so tremendous rebounding in our western reservoirs. And then Lake Texana, the takeaway from this morning is at 100% capacity. And that's tremendous. And so last week it was at 77%. I think it's been well over a year. At least if you look a year ago, it wasn't even at 100% a year ago. So this is a new record, I think, for at least over the past year for Lake Texana. And so, so the rebounding is great, and we've had questions, early on, even when we have had those initial rain events the past couple of weeks, that included are we out of the drought, and is everything back to normal? And I would say no. Unfortunately, while this is very optimistic news, we still have to be very cautious and work as if things haven't turned around as much as they have, because we're still not out of the woods yet with this drought of record. And so that's why we're talking about our level 1 water emergencies, and we'll talk about that here momentarily. But because of these rains, we have pushed back the trigger date for this level 1 water emergency that we've talked a lot about over the past couple of months. And so in April of this year, we established a trigger date for a level 1 water emergency, and that was September. That was the initial date that we had selected. You may recall we had 5 potential dates, and we narrowed it down to 1 in April, and that date is September. But because of the rains that we've seen, just a few weeks ago, we updated the projection to December. So right now, if you go on our city's website, our forecast for level 1 water emergency would be triggered in December. And just to remind those, if this is the first time you're hearing about this, is that December would be 6 months from that point. Water supply would not be enough for demand. It's not that we run out of water or that or anything of that nature. It's just supply 6 months from December won't be enough to satisfy demand. But that December projection does not include rains of the past 2 weeks, especially the rains we received this week that have tremendous rebound in our western reservoir. So over the next few weeks, we'll be updating the projection again, and we're pretty confident. We're quite confident that it won't be December. It's going to be in 2027 sometime. So it could be January, February. We'll have that update for the community and the city council on June 23rd. And so we'll update that then. Now, also the media has been asking, and really a lot of concerned citizens have been asking that, as the western reservoirs begin to replenish, does that mean we have to start releasing water again for what we call environmental releases? And so our city, and we're going to get the facts on this because I think a lot of reservoirs that have been artificially impounded, through man building dams, have what we call these agreed orders, and that they're agreements between a water entity or a city or cities or water districts and TCEQ that says because we impounded the river, we had to at least mimic at some points of the time in the year the once natural flow of that river. And so that's why we do these environmental releases, because the Frio River and the Nueces River in particular, by our doing, have been impounded. We have dams that capture the waters that used to flow freely along the river. And so the agreed order is an agreement with TCEQ that we have and others have it. The Lavaca-Navidad River Authority similarly has an agreed order. And in fact, as recent as the last couple of weeks, they've been doing environmental releases. And so the goal is to try to mimic what nature used to be like prior to a dam being built. But in our case, our agreed order says that anytime the reservoirs, the combined reservoirs, Lake Corpus Christi and Choke Canyon, are 30% or higher, we have to release water through the year. There's a schedule. It's not every day, but there's a certain amount based on certain conditions that we have to release. And so that background to say that we are, as of yesterday, we put correspondence out. We're going to be working with TCEQ, two other certificate holders, as we call them, on our certificate, which is the Nueces River Authority and the City of Three Rivers, with our consultant who we've hired to review this agreed order, which is HDR. So we're going to be working with the certificate holders and HDR to request from TCEQ with other state officials that we get a temporary reprieve from that 30% benchmark, and from not 30%, but 50%. And so essentially we would be asking to do no releases between 30 and 50%. Let our reservoirs get to at least 50%, and then we would do releases consistent with the agreed order. And so we're hoping that that is received favorably from TCEQ. They've been a great partner of this region, and we want to thank them here publicly, as well as Governor Abbott and his team in Austin, who have done a tremendous amount of work helping us get through this drought. So this is just one more tool that we could potentially use, which would keep water in the reservoirs between 30 and 50%, bypassing the agreed order. And then we'll do a comprehensive review of the agreed order. We know entities, we just received an email late last night, this morning, from the coastal bend, bays, and estuaries, and we will work with them. I believe personally, as a city manager, there's some merit in doing these natural releases or these environmental releases. But the agreed order is a little dated. It's a couple of decades old, I think, right? And so it's worth re-reviewing it. Conditions have changed. The environment has changed. And so it's worth reviewing. Is this still the right program and environmental releases? But as we do that, we're going to ask for this immediate temporary relief to waive the 30% and take it all the way to 50% before we do any releases. Okay, great. So what we want to do now is run through 8 projects that either we're directly working on or an entity like the Nueces River Authority is working on. We refer to these as our water supply projects. There's 8 of them. It's quite a bit that we're working on to bring additional water supply into our system. And some of them are already online, like our Nueces groundwater program, and some of them are under construction. And others need votes, like this coming Tuesday, for the Inner Harbor Desalination Project. So let's begin with the Evangeline Groundwater Project. This is a groundwater project in San Patricio County. We know recently Judge York, who is an administrative law judge, hired to see if 3 protestants on the permits had standing. There was a hearing on standing. The 3 protestants, the City of Sinton, the Water District of St. Paul, and a farmer, Charles Ring, and board chair, coincidentally, filed protests to the drilling and or transport permits. Judge York said that they have standing, and so we're waiting on Judge York and the district, the San Pat Water Groundwater Conservation District, to schedule a hearing. And the hearings is just not one hearing. There's a whole series of almost quasi-judicial, processes that have to take place. And so that's in the works. We're also continuing to evaluate a direct correspondence with John Hobson and the mayor of Sinton, Mayor Mary Spadell, to see if there's any new or any room to negotiate some type of an agreement that would bypass the contested case hearing. And then we're also going to work with the board in these coming weeks on emergency wells. There's been some talk that they may grant emergency wells, where we could drill about 12 wells, but only turn them on if we trigger a level 1 water emergency. So, but despite the permitting process, we continue to work on site. And so, good morning. And we have about more than half of the pipe is on site right now for the transmission lines of the well field. There's 24 wells in total, and about 30 miles of pipe that will connect the wells and transport the water and ultimately put it in the Mary Rhodes pipeline. And so we have more than 50% of all that piping is in, and the installation began last week. And it continues, and it'll continue in a more aggressive way as more crews from Garney Construction are assigned to this project site. So that was the Evangeline project. And our Nueces groundwater program, that's one that is performing today. As of today, we have 13 million gallons of water going into our system from the Nueces groundwater program. There's a total of 16 wells that have been drilled. And if we just stop for a minute, because we've heard a lot of numbers and we've been up here quite a bit, but that's a lot of wells that we've drilled in record time, a total of 16 wells. These are not the small wells that you may see in a rural establishment. These are pretty massive wells, 800 feet deep, producing 1 to 1.5 million gallons of water a day. They're extremely commercial or industrial type construction. So that program's coming along great. We still have more wells to drill, and We're producing 13 million gallons, but by the time the entire New Oasis program is built out, it'll be a total of 36 million gallons, so almost double what we're doing today. And of that 36 million gallons from the New Oasis program, approximately 24 million of that will be treated at a brackish RO plant that we're building at our Owen Stevens treatment plant. And so it'll take out some of the TDS that we find in the well fields there. It won't be as intense as a seawater desalination. We'll be taking out just a little bit of the TDS or the salt, bringing the level down from about a 1,300 to an 800 level. And so it'll be a quicker, more economical process, but that project is underway. We are building a pipeline of about 13 miles that'll convey the water no longer through the river, but through the pipeline from the groundwater program there in our well fields. And it'll take it to Owen Stevens where it will be treated. And so the conveyance line, which is a pipeline, is about 75% complete in its design. And we expect it to be completed soon. And also the construction will be done in phases of the distribution pipeline, and some of that work will begin soon as well. We expect that the entire conveyance line will be done by the end of this year, by December 2026. And that's pretty remarkable too, if you look at the timeline. It only just really began, right, in recent months. And so on the brackish reverse osmosis treatment process, about 8 months from July, we'll be beginning to clean up about 4 million gallons of water a day. That's in the February-March timeframe. And that will continue to grow to about 15 million gallons by September of 2027, and then ultimately 21 million gallons will be fresh water produced by March of 2028. Last night at our community meeting, we got a lot of good feedback from our reclaimed water project. And so we know we have 6 wastewater treatment plants, and we discharged about 30 million gallons of pretty clean water into our bays and estuaries in the Gulf. We have a project in place that'll reuse 16 million of that water, selling it to 2, and maybe 3, and maybe 4 industrial customers here, like Valero in Flint Hills and maybe Citgo. And so that project, I really do like this one because we have the unique opportunity of using treated wastewater for industrial purposes. We don't have to worry about the toilet to tap, notion that, or concept that's used in some places in America. We don't have to worry about that stigmatism or having to deal with customers' concerns. So we're going to reuse and sell to these industrial partners 16 million gallons, and that essentially frees up 16 million gallons of fresh water that we can sell to our residential and commercial customers. So it's a great project. It's a partnership project. Valero is spending $100 million on part of the conveyance system, pipeline system. And they'll also pay us along with Flint Hills and maybe Citgo for the treated water as well. So we'll be bringing revenue in when we sell them that water. They're going to help pay for 50% of the project or more. And then also it frees up 16 million gallons of fresh water that we can sell to residential and commercial accounts. Okay, so let's turn our attention now to some of our seawater projects, seawater desalination. We know that this city has been working on what is known as the Inner Harbor seawater desalination project for some time. The important notes here is that there is a consideration of a contract this Tuesday at City Council with a second firm. You may recall we had Kiewit under contract at one point, but Corpus Christi Desal Partners is going to be presenting, or we will be presenting with them next Tuesday, a 60% design contract to design the Inner Harbor project at 60%. And also in that package next Tuesday would be a contract to design and construct a demonstration site, or pilot project site as we call it. And then also they'll verify and provide a guaranteed maximum price. So all those 3 items are in one contract. It's over 1,000 pages, and it has a value of $78 million. And so that takes place next Tuesday. The council has to choose between a yes, no, or abstention vote. And we know a lot of folks are watching us on this vote, so it'll be very important. As we promised City Council, they will have the benefit of having more environmental information before they have to take that vote on Tuesday. And so we just concluded I think a 2-month, almost 2+ month process of looking at the far field modeling of the Bay system. And so we're looking at the environmental impacts, essentially, of a desalination facility in the ship channel. And we're seeing, does that impact the waters of the ship channel? Does it impact the Nueces Bay, which is behind the ship channel? And does it impact the Corpus Christi Bay? And the questions that we were asked to answer, and that we had the consultant Spheros Environmental answer for us under a contract that cost $500,000, would the desalination facility in the ship channel cause an increase in salinity levels that could harm aquatic life and human life? And 2, would it cause a change in temperature? And so if anybody was at the concluding meeting yesterday, and you'll hear it again this Tuesday, the modeler essentially said no, that neither would happen, that TDS won't significantly change, nor would temperature to have an impact on aquatic life. And when you put it in parts or measurement, the salinity levels in certain areas, and predominantly in the ship channel, would only change from 0.5% to 2.0%, given certain conditions. Naturally, there's a huge swing in the salinity levels in our Bay system. I think it's plus 10% sometime, right? So it can change, the salinity levels can change from things like record droughts, heavy rainfalls can flip them the other way and have less salinity. And so already the Bay system has a very natural variance in salinity levels when you measure them. And so the measurement of 0.5 to 2.0 is somewhat subjective, right? But when you have swings of 10+%, in that relative context, the modeler said that they're not significant. So on Tuesday, the modeler will present his findings. The committee members, the meeting yesterday was with a task force of 19 community members, and 5 of those community members, or 6, I think, it's 5? Okay, 5 of those community members, I asked them personally to have volunteers to present their reflections to City Council next Tuesday. So it's not just the city and Spheros telling the council what some people think we might want them to hear or believe. We want the committee members to give their reflections and their interpretation as well. They may not be experts at it, but that's okay. We want them to tell the council what they think. And so the modeler will present next Tuesday, and then we'll have 5 community members from that 19-member panel present as well next Tuesday. Okay, so on the same track of seawater desalination, we're still working with the Harbor Island project. This is a very different project located on what is known as Harbor Island, close to Port Aransas and Aransas Pass on the Gulf. And the developers are the Nueces River Authority. The owner of the property is the Port of Corpus Christi. Just recently, I think last week, IDE Technologies was selected as the partner to design and build and potentially operate a desal facility. The city is involved because we provided $2.7 million in participation monies, reserving up to 50 million gallons of water should that project come to light in the near future. So we're pretty excited about this project. Progress continues to be made. The Nueces River Authority recognizes the significance of this project. They just in their meeting last week decided to meet once a month now, instead of once a quarter, and put some other rigor in place as well to really focus on this project, including monthly financial reporting and so on. And so they're working on conveyance lines, and by the city participating at $2.7 million, we're at the table now with the designing and the locating of the conveyance line. This project contemplates taking water north to the San Antonio area. And the line could have gone more straight up, but by us being involved, it's going to swing over towards our city, and it'll be easier to tap into their transportation line and access water for us. So We have confidence in the Nueces River Authority. Obviously, the Port of Corpus Christi, the leading export of energy in the country, is at the table as well. So there's good reason to have confidence in this project, and it will continue to progress. Just this week, we were at a TCEQ hearing that they held, that TCEQ held, to hear any comments and concerns that individuals may have on their obtaining a discharge permit into the Gulf. For the project. It was a small number of folks that were there, mostly from the Aransas Pass Conservancy, and TCQ did a great job answering all the questions that were asked. I was there personally for that meeting. Two other desal. One of the desal project, just to give you a quick update on, is the CC Polymer project. So we know CC Polymers is a polymer plastics plant here on the ship channel that was never completely built out, as well as the desal facility that was supply water to the plant that was never built out as well. But a company called Aquatech has reached an agreement with CC Polymers allowing Aquatech to finish out the desalination facility. And we're involved because we are looking into a potential contract to buy 9.4 million gallons of water from this facility over the next several years while the plant is being finished out to supply additional waters to us. The update on it is that we expect a term sheet in the coming week or weeks, either next week or the week after. The term sheet would talk about timeline and price. It's compared to the Harbor Island or Inner Harbor, it's a relatively small amount of water, not 9 initially, going up to 5 or 6 million more on top of that with an expansion. So still a good project, and we're working on that one. And then Barney Davis Desalination is one other desal facility site that we're working on. We know that the Barney Davis power plant here on our south side is owned by CPS Energy of San Antonio, and we continue to work with their leadership. We have a meeting this Monday with a few council members and myself and city team to talk about a PUA. It's a new instrument the legislature approved that water utilities could use, a public utility authority. Essentially, you partner up with several entities and have a different governmental entity that would manage and control the project. So we're going to talk about that this Monday, and then we'll continue to talk with CPS. And then the final project, the 8th project, is our 7Cs project. 7Cs is an international water provider. They recently put 5,000 acres of land under contract as a potential well field site for brackish water that would be treated, and we would be involved in that. We would buy the water. We wouldn't operate. We don't have the lease on the property, but we would have a direct take contract from 7Cs, and so they continue their work. One of their next things they'll do is do a test well on the site. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about rates. So I mentioned earlier there's a couple. We're talking a lot here. There's a lot of things in the presentation. So the first thing we talked about of importance is Lake Texana is at 100%. The second thing of importance was that we're asking TCEQ for a reprieve on our releases so that we don't have to release water from our western system at 30% capacity combined, but rather at 50%. And then the third takeaway from this press briefing this morning is our rates and the budget. And so traditionally, we present a comprehensive full city budget to council in late July, and it's ultimately adopted in September. And when it comes to water and wastewater rates, those take place in January if there's any rate change. Because of the significant investment that we're having to undertake because of this drought of record and the close scrutiny of our rating agencies and other financial institutions, we are going to carve out of the budget process, kind of take out of the budget process the water system, our CCW budget, and handle it separately and handle it 2 months sooner and potentially have rate increases 3 months sooner for the system. Because all these projects I just went over cost money. We know that the City Council has approved nearly, or I think actually a little over $1 billion in projects, and that's before any desal either project or contract is considered. So with the funds have to come from our rate payers. We are looking at federal monies, grants, and state monies, but still the majority will come from the rates, and that's how the system works. It's the utility system, not any different than any other water system in America, and maybe internationally as well. So the news is that we are going to begin work on the budget, the operating budget now. And we'll be ready to talk to City Council in July. And so in the second week of July, the first week of July is around the July 4th timeframe. The second week in July, we're going to see if City Council members might have questions on the process or rates or the budget. That'll be the second week. The third week in July, we're going to have a workshop here. It'll be a City Council meeting to go over the budget for just CCW. And remember, we have water and wastewater. There's two big systems in what is known as CCW. And then the fourth week, we will then have a City Council agenda item to consider the budget and also consider rate increases for both water and wastewater, a first reading ordinance in that fourth week. And then the fifth week will be, we're going to ask Council to adopt the new rate structure for 2025, fiscal year 2025. That'll be that last week in July. It'll be an ordinance. We'll probably do a second reading will be that fifth week. So the first reading will be the fourth week, second reading and adoption the fifth week in July. And then the rates would go into effect on October 1. And so it's important we talk about it now. We don't want to surprise any of our ratepayers. We know some of our larger ratepayers, like school districts and the military base and industry, as well as our own families, need time to prepare and plan. And so we have plenty of time between now and October. That is, how many months is that? This is, anybody? Yeah, we'll get that for you, but it's several months. So the message, how many? 5 months? Okay, so we have 5 months to talk about this and prepare, and it's just you know, we can call it unfortunate or unnecessary in the family's, you know, mind, but it's necessary to run the system. And while we have rains and our reservoirs are looking better, it's so easy to forget what we've been going through in the past 5 years. It's just too easy to forget that. So the system we have today is not robust enough, and it's not strong enough to withstand droughts. And this drought proved it. We've seen it before, but we forgot, and we just kept doing what we were doing. But this drought should teach us that the system's not resilient enough, it's not robust enough, it's not diverse enough, and so we have to significantly invest, and that means all our ratepayers, our residential customers, our commercial, our large volume industrial customers, and our wholesalers all have to help build a better system, because we don't want to go through this again. I certainly don't as a city manager, or wish it on any other city manager. And I think the community is pretty fed up with it as well. And that being, you can't even water your lawns. You have to worry about curtailing at home. You have commercial accounts and large volume users on pins and needles about, can I open today? Am I going to run my business? So anyway, all that to say, rate adjustments will be necessary. We'll have more information coming, but I think this is the first time in one of these briefings we're talking about this. We've talked to City Council about it before, but so in summary, July will be the focus on just CCW with rates, and hopefully Council will approve rate adjustments that'll go into effect on October 1 instead of January 1, as they typically have. Okay, so we're nearing the end here. Let's talk about next Tuesday again. I've talked a little bit about it already, but just to summarize Tuesday. So this Tuesday is a City Council meeting. The agenda is a full-blown council meeting. There's a few items on there of significance, including several contracts dealing with our overall business. But three real important things include the level 1 water emergency policies that City Council has to consider. Since the last several meetings now, I think we've worked out all the issues that may have existed that may have been a stymie to approving these level 1 policies. And so just this Saturday, we wrapped up yet another meeting with the with the Corpus Christi Apartment Association. And I think they have a big, I don't know if is that their name, the Corpus Christi? Yeah, they have a huge regional reach as far as the valley and I think around San Antonio as well. But anyway, we had one more meeting with them Saturday, so I think the apartments are good. We're not going to classify any multifamily apartment as a commercial account. They'll have their own classification, a multifamily account, and how we develop their baseline, I think we have agreement with the Apartment Association. That was a one holdup, and then we've continually met with one of our wholesalers who want us to develop a different methodology for baseline setting, and I think we've pretty much work through that, which is the baseline that we're recommending to council is much better than what's in the current plan, and it will provide baselines to wholesalers equivalent to what their usage is today, and that's the whole purpose of a baseline. So they should be good on that side as well. So on Tuesday, before the desal consideration, will be consideration of these level 1 water emergency policies that we want the council to finally adopt. So the certainty in case we have to go into a level 1 water emergency. This is pretty groundbreaking work that we've done. We're much better for it as a region. We're hoping to never have to go into discussions about a level 1 water emergency again because of all of our water supply projects. But if we ever have to again, now we've done months and months and months worth of work to where you can just pull the policy out this next time if we have to do it. Also, next Tuesday will be that presentation, as I mentioned, on our far-field modeling, and the company will be here, Spheros Environmental, and then, of course, the vote on the design contract for the Inner Harbor desalination will be on Tuesday as well. Okay, so we're going to finish up here with just a reminder of stakeholder engagement, and Elisa mentioned this in the beginning, that we really do care a lot about our customers and our community, and that's all types of customers, includes our families, our business owners, and our large industrial customers, and so we're doing a lot to keep information flowing to them, including community meetings, and we had a second one last night in City Council District 2 at the Greenwood Senior Center. A week from next Wednesday will be another one. This will be in City Council District 5 at the Police Training Academy on Yorktown. Anybody can go. Just because it's described as a District 5 meeting doesn't mean you have to live in District 5. And so you can go to that one. It's at 6 o'clock is the time. And so that's at 6902 Yorktown Boulevard at the Police Training Academy. And those will continue. We have a total of, I think, 8 or 9 in total we had scheduled. They'll continue. And then finally, our water usage portal. I do want to give, we're going to double down on our communication, because I think still, as much as we're communicating, I'm not sure our customers know we have this free tool for them. I personally think it's great, and I think we should submit an award application for it, because it was very innovative. Our IT department, Peter Collins and Holly, developed it in record time. It's so easy to use. But to date, the site has only had 11,000 views, 11,000. And that could be somebody going in 2 or 3 times. So we have about 90,000 customers and 11,000 views. So you can see there's a lot more times we want that thing to be hit. People should be using it, weekly, maybe daily. And so it's real easy to use. It's a portal that'll tell you how much water you've used to date in the billing cycle. And it has in the bottom 12 months of historical data that'll show you how much water you've used. I think one thing this drought has taught us all is that we need to be mindful of how much water we're using at our homes and our businesses. I think a lot of us don't know. But we should, and so we put together this free tool. Doesn't cost any of our customers anything. So I encourage people to go to it. We want that view number to go way up. We should be 100,000 soon. So we'll keep talking about it. All you have to do is go to our homepage. It's right on the home page of the city's landing page. So go to corpuschristitx.gov. So just type in corpuschristitx.gov and just scroll a little bit down, you'll see it. There's a real big box that says Water Portal. Click on it. All you need is your home address or your business address, and then your water account number, and that's on your bill. And so if you get your bill electronically or by paper, just get that. Those 2 ingredients, those 2 pieces of information, you can have access to that information to help you understand how much water you're using in the billing cycle and what you've used over time. And I think that concludes it. I think that's it. So we'll be here again next Friday, and we'll have more information next Friday. Hopefully, we'll have some of the feedback from the important council meeting by then as well, and we'll provide additional updates on these water supply projects. There is rain, and we do have the meteorologist here from Chris 6, and but we know there's rain for next week. I even saw in one of our weather services a disturbance that's heading more towards Houston and Louisiana, but still there's more good chances for rain. So next week, hopefully, we have even better news on our reservoirs, on the height of the water in the reservoirs. So with that, we're going to turn over to Gabby, who's going to do a Spanish translation, and then I'll come back up to answer questions.
Sobre el suministro de agua actual y los niveles de los embalses, las lluvias recientes han mejorado la capacidad de los embalses. Chow Canyon se encuentra actualmente al 7.9%, el lago de Corpus Christi al 18.2%. La capacidad combinada de los embalses occidentales se encuentran al 10.8%. El lago Texana se encuentra al 100%. Las proyecciones para la emergencia hídrica de nivel 1. Debido a las recientes lluvias, la fecha de inicio proyectada se ha pospuesto para diciembre del 2026, a la espera de los datos actualizados de precipitaciones del 23 de junio. La actualización sobre la orden acordada de la TCEQ o Comisión de Calidad del Medio Ambiente del Estado. El Departamento de Agua ha contratado a la compañía HDR para reevaluar la orden de la TCEQ referente al flujo de agua dulce a través de la presa Wesley Seal, solicitando una suspensión temporal hasta que los embalses alcancen el 50% de su capacidad. Contamos con 8 proyectos de diversificación de agua. Estas son las actualizaciones de esos proyectos. El proyecto de aguas subterráneas Evangeline. Trámites de permisos en curso, la construcción ha comenzado y ya se ha entregado más de 59,000 pies de tubería. Aún están pendientes procesos judiciales. Sobre el programa de aguas subterráneas de Nueces. 16 pozos se encuentran operando con una producción de hasta 13 millones de galones diarios. Se proyectan 36 millones de galones para finales del año. 24 de esos millones se van a tratar en la planta Owen Stevens para remover diversas partículas. El proyecto de infraestructura de agua recuperada. Se aprobó el contrato con CIMAR para la línea de conducción acelerada. El diseño se encuentra completado en un 60%. 16 millones de galones van a ser vendidos a la industria. Sobre la desalinización de agua de mar en el Inner Harbor. Se está finalizando un contrato y se avanza con el estudio de viabilidad. Esperamos tener la próxima semana información sobre el modelo de estudio de impacto medioambiental en el puerto interior. Queremos saber si habrá un impacto salobre, así como si habrá un cambio en cuanto a la temperatura. Estos resultados serán presentados al concilio el próximo martes. Sobre la desalinización de agua en el mar en Harbor Island, IDE Technologies ha sido seleccionada como socio de desarrollo para potencialmente construir un proyecto de desalinización. Sobre la desalinización de agua de mar para CC Polymer, Aquatech proporcionará los detalles de contrato en breve. Esperamos escuchar de ellos para potencialmente contar con una planta desalinizadora a futuro. La planta de desalinización de agua de mar Barney Davis continúa con la ciudad continúa la colaboración con CPS Energy. Sobre Seven Seas Water Group, las negociaciones del proyecto continúan en curso. Se están perforando un pozo de prueba para evaluar el acuífero. En cuanto a las cuotas de cargos de agua o el impacto fiscal, se requieren ajustes en las tarifas de agua comercial y residencial sobre las aguas residenciales debido al aumento de los costos. La presentación del presupuesto está programada para el mes de julio. Los cambios sobre la estructura de ajustes a las tarifas de agua esperamos que sean aprobadas también en el mes de julio. Si son aprobadas por el concilio, entrarían en vigor para el mes de octubre. La ciudad se ha visto en la necesidad de contar con diversificación de las fuentes de agua, por lo que estos ajustes son necesarios para solventar todos los gastos y contar con más agua y evitar vernos en esa posición debido a una sequía. La próxima reunión del Consejo Municipal es el 2 de junio. Se espera que en esta reunión el concilio vote para sentar las políticas de la emergencia hídrica del nivel 1 y sobre el contrato de desalinización en el Inner Harbor, entre otras medidas. Sobre la participación comunitaria, continuamos con las sesiones informativas sobre el agua. También les recordamos que se ha lanzado el nuevo portal de uso de agua en donde cada cliente puede ver cuánta agua se utiliza, ya sea en su residencia o en su negocio diariamente. Esta aplicación es completamente gratis. La próxima sesión informativa para los medios será el próximo viernes.
Great, thank you, Gabby. Okay, at this point, we're going to open it up for media questions, and we do have our team here that'll help with microphones.
Morning, Peter.
Good morning, Drew. Yes, sir.
Drew Bishop, Channel 6 News. So I know you addressed a little bit about the level 1 water emergency and some of those multifamily homes. I know that's been a sticking point and why we delayed the vote. You talked about not treating them as a commercial customer, but I had a representative of the Corpus Christi Apartment Association reach out to me with some concerns. I want to relay those to you. They're saying the city's current plan isn't fair to renters. More than 30% of residents live in apartments, yet those communities are treated like commercial properties. That means a 25% water reduction is applied to the entire property, not per household. As a result, apartment residents could end up with less water per family than those in single-family homes. Families living in different types of housing should be treated the same. A fair solution is a per-unit approach, so every household is treated equally. And I know in your comments earlier you said that those won't be treated as commercial properties. You've worked out some type of deal with the apartment association. Could you give us more details on that and how apartment residents are being restricted?
Sure, yeah, thank you, Drew. So Drew read off some concerns from somebody from the association or somebody that owns property, but the key message is this, is that families living in a multifamily apartment or multifamily community, and there's many variations of that. You have big communities, you have a fourplex, a duplex. They will be treated just like any other family living in a single family home. And so it's going to take us a little more effort to make sure that actually happens. And we're committed to that. And that's what we told the president of the apartment association. Today they have, most of these communities have 1 meter that feeds the entire community. And so if you have a large apartment complex with, say, 400 units, there's just 1 meter. And so we have to rely on that data from that 1 meter to determine a baseline. And that's the approach we're going to take. That's the one that they were fine with using, the president of the association. We've picked years that were not COVID years. That was one of initially we had years that would have included COVID years, and the apartment association said a lot of the renters moved to their relatives' homes, or apartment renting was down essentially. And so conversely, water use was probably down as well. And so we're not using those years. We're going to use more current years, 23 to 25, and then we'll take out 12 months of the lowest month. So by doing that, we're essentially giving more water to the properties. But we've also told the apartment association president and their leadership that we're going to work with you very closely. We're not going to say, here's your allocation and don't call us, no matter what happens, right? So we're going to work to fine-tune this one. It is very nuanced because every apartment community is different. You have some that have higher vacancy rates, some that have higher lease rates. You have some that are bigger. You have big families living in some of them. And so we're going to start with that methodology, and we have 5 months to kind of verify, is it going to work? Will each family in the complex have enough if we set a baseline for the unit, for the community, and then it's distributed out? And so that 5-month period with us looking, not us waiting for somebody to call us and say, hey, this doesn't work. We're going to be calling them first, most likely, to say, okay, based on this methodology, it doesn't look like you'd have enough, so we're going to do this to get you a baseline. And so a key message is this, is that if a family or a person is living in a multifamily community, they will be treated with as much care as our families living in a single-family residential community. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And I want to ask, the rate increases. People hear that and frustration kind of boils over. Obviously, right. I know that's something, your team doesn't want to do, but you may have to do. Can you explain in simple terms, if I'm a resident and I'm upset, I'm saying, hey, why is my rate going up?
Yeah.
Where is that additional money going? You talk about all the water projects we're taking on, but right. Explain to me, step by step, that additional money that I'm paying for my water, where does that go as far as city funds and where that's distributed? Right,
okay, great. So Drew's asking from Chris 6 about how's the budget work and rates work. And so the city has 28 lines of business, and we have numerous funds like property tax and sales tax. For our water, wastewater operation, all the funds that we get through the monthly billing process stay in a separate account. And the monthly bills are only paying for water and wastewater. That's it. We don't take that money and hire police officers or build streets. And so the system, we try every day. Nick's not here today, but Nick, the leader of Corpus Christi Water, and the over, I think it's over 700 employees, if I'm not mistaken, care every day about keeping costs low. And it's an all hands-on approach. But to deliver water and to clean wastewater takes money. It costs. It's not a free service. Property tax doesn't pay for it. Sales tax doesn't pay for it. And so the utility rate pays for the system. And today, across the world, especially here in Texas and across the country, maybe if we want to focus more narrowly, the cost for new water supply projects are always more than what you had yesterday, and they're expensive. And this council, this city council that sits here today, they have taken generational votes and approved $1 billion worth of new water supply projects, not because we just wanted to spend $1 billion, but because our water supply was in jeopardy with a drought of record and a system that is not robust enough to handle it. And so we have to pay, everybody has to pay for that $1 billion worth of new water supply projects and just ongoing increases in our operational costs. We're at the mercy of the private sector. We buy a lot of chemicals and parts and equipment and systems for our treatment process and distribution processes. Those costs go up. We don't control the private market. And so to recover the cost for that and new supply projects, we do have to increase the rates. So we're mindful about that. We're also mindful that the $1 billion, as I mentioned, that's going to take several years to issue that revenue, that debt. And so rates will go up, but it'll be over time. But I think what we're seeing across America, I was just on a panel in Washington, D.C., and it was an infrastructure panel. And this is something that Texas is going to grapple with. You see it time and again with news stories. And the nation is going to have to grapple with it. And that is that costs for water are going up. It's not just something happening here in Corpus Christi, Texas. It's nationally, especially here in Texas, where massive growth in our new residents moving here and businesses. The demand on water is not just here in Corpus, it's statewide, it's nationally. And then the cost for that goes up when you have to have more supply. So that's what happens. So the key thing is that we're only increasing rates to pay for the projects and to pay for the service. The monies that we collect stay within the operation, so we don't commingle that with other funds that are used for things like public safety or airport services or the Hilliard Center. So whatever we collect, we save and use, and if there's monies left over, we keep those in those funds and use them the next year. We'll have more detail on the rates. They will be increasing. If we look just up the road to San Antonio, Texas, their water system is contemplating, I think, a 30% rate increase. So it's just a couple hours away from here. Similar water system is doing the same thing that we're going to talk to council about in July. And they're not even bringing on additional water supply projects. That's just paying for their overall operations. So. Yeah, good question, though. Thank you, Drew.
Sir, I have 3 questions from Colleen at the Texas Tribune. The first question is, when is the city's wastewater recycling project projected to come online?
Okay, our effluent reuse project?
Yes, sir.
Right, yeah, so the Texas Tribune, thank you for following us. We read your headline story today. It was a good report on what we're doing here. And so that project will come in phases, but the first 3 million gallons of a total of 16 will come online later this year in December, and that will be with Flint Hills through our Ellison wastewater treatment plant. The Flint Hills is being a great partner and working both, not only Saturdays like we do, but Saturday and Sunday to bring the system online. They have to put some reverse osmosis type equipment in at their expense. So 3 beginning later this year, and then as we complete the system of moving water from Oso to Greenwood and then Greenwood to Valero, later next year, the remaining 13 million or so will come online as well.
Thank you. Her next question is, because of the good news on reservoirs, is the city looking to further delay projections of a level 1 water emergency? And when is the city expected to make that announcement? Mm-hmm.
Right. So from the Texas Tribune, they're asking what's the latest on the level 1 water emergency dates because of the rain. So we already moved the date from what was September to December based on rains from weeks ago. The rains that we received, especially this week here, Wednesday morning, those haven't been factored into the new model. So we're going to be updating the model over the next 2 weeks, and on June 23rd, we'll show an updated level 1 water emergency forecast to the community, the city council and the community. We know it's going to be later than December. We have tremendous amounts of water gain now in our western, and as I mentioned, Lake Texana is getting the gold star today with 100% full. So that helps a lot. So we'll have a new forecast on June 23rd on Tuesday. and most likely it's going to push that level 1 water emergency date to 2027, probably early 2027.
Thank you. Last question from the Texas Tribune. Could the city manager talk more about the findings of the Farfield study? Did CCW make any changes to the Inner Harbor proposal because of it?
Okay, great. The final question from the Texas Tribune is the Farfield study that I mentioned in today's briefing did cost money. We hired a consultant, and but it's worth it. The community has always had that question, which is, will an Inner Harbor desalination facility have environmental impacts negatively to the Bay system? There's been at least 6 or 7 studies that have been done over time, but they've looked at just sections of the Bay, like the Ship Channel or the La Quinta Channel or the lower part of the Bay. This one did a comprehensive study of what we call the entire Bay system, and so that's the Ship Channel, the Nueces Bay, and the Corpus Christi Bay. It did cost $500,000, and our ratepayers are paying for it, all of them. And it provided consistent information that we've seen in the prior 6 reports. And so it pretty much said the same thing, which is that the change in salinity levels would be only a range of 0.5 to 2.0, depending on conditions. And that's what we've seen before in these prior reports. So there was no new, shocking information. It was pretty consistent with what we've seen before. But it validates the work that's been done, and it validates it in a comprehensive way. And we've never done that before. I personally asked that it be done and that we invest that money, and I think it's a good investment. Of course, some folks think that it's still going to have issue to the Bay, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. This is a pretty robust report that was done by experienced professionals from Spheros Environmental. A smart team of, I think, 6 or 7 folks worked on the modeling. That took specific conditions of the Bay using historical data and simulated what would happen in the future if those conditions continued and if you introduce more concentrated salinity levels from a desal facility, essentially. And it used the worst case scenarios like drought of records and no inflows to moderate scenarios where rain's happening and there's some inflows. But in all cases, there was a range of change of 0.5 to 2.0. The final question from the Tribune is, did it change our design or our approach to the Inner Harbor? And I think that answer would be best done by the firm Corpus Christi Desal Partners that have a leading desalination expert worldwide, Acciona. But I think I'm fair to say the answer would probably be no. Right, because that's not a shocking difference, and they probably already had that in their business model anyway. So, but they'll use that data to see is there any refinement that they need to do to the plant and the design if council approves it. And we'll also be testing our waters through the process. It's not that we build this and we never put foot in the water again. So we're going to be testing water. It could be that the plant, even after being built, if council approves it, needs adjustments, either in the dispersion and oxygen that's introduced to the dispersion and flows of water, how fast it goes out. So we're very committed to the environment, and I think the fact that we asked for this study and we spent time, hours and hours, and that we put a 19-member panel together to hear things we might not want to hear, proves that, and we have the results, and additional work can be done over time. It doesn't mean we're done studying the Bay system. Through the Farfield modeling, questions came up about aquatic life analysis, dissolved oxygen was another one, and this study didn't have that in its scope of work, but there's more work that can be done, and we have some of the leading professionals here at the Heart Institute, and Texas, UT Texas has a facility here with very leading doctors in both institutions. And we want to partner with them to continue to work on our Bay system because we care about it just as much as they do. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Peter.
Hi.
Nice to show up here. You have both Stephanies from KISS 6
Yes.
today. But, I'm the chief meteorologist, so I come to ask you some weather questions.
Okay.
A little background. Yes, we've had wonderful rainfall. That's very encouraging. And I've gotten a lot of questions because of it now, so I bring those to you.
Okay.
So I believe it was on the 9th you had mentioned that we needed 20 to 40 inches of rain in a short period of time to really get things back where they need to be.
Right.
And that is an accurate number. It's something that you all have been working very closely with our partners at the National Weather Service to get those briefings. And the briefing that came out on May 18th, our combined capacity was around 8.3%. Today, we're happy, clicking our heels together because we're around 11%. So now come the questions. Given that we're expecting a very strong El Nino this summer, which would be in the next couple of months, and versus what you might call a regular El Nino, a strong El Nino actually doesn't tend to give us as much rainfall. So given all of those different climate tidbits, how is that going? Can you shed some light into how the city and CCW are factoring these changes into your projections, and how can we get some peace of mind that we're not perhaps overestimating or perhaps celebrating too soon just because we've had some very good recent rainfall?
Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie from the lead meteorologist with Chris 6. And so earlier on in the conversation, my opening remarks were that while we have seen some rain now, I think 4 to 5 weeks in a row, we are not out of the woods. There's still a lot more rain that we need, and while it helps relieve some of the tension at the home or here at City Hall and running this business, we still need a lot more rain. So that question was just asked again recently: how much rainfall would we need to have the western reservoirs rebound to a decent level, like a 50% level? And I don't have it. I don't have the report here in front of me, but it's anywhere from 20 inches to 40 inches of rain. And Esteban is agreeing with that, one of our teammates on water resources. So we need a lot more rain. The rainfall we had this Wednesday morning here locally and over the recharge area was anywhere from 2 to 4 inches, and it moved the needle a little bit. Our combined level, as we mentioned, went from 8 to 11%, but with that massive amount of rain and just the storm intensity, it just barely moved the needle. So we are taking into account in our business the weather. Every week, we're fortunate that the National Weather Service, that has an agency here or an office here at Corpus Christi International Airport, spends a good half hour to 45 minutes with us every week, and we're thankful for that. It's a free service. They have great meteorologists that give a very detailed assessment of what happened the last week or so and a forecast going up to 90 days. Their information is what we rely on, and it says, just like you said, Stephanie, that the El Nino effect can help us later on in the year. It may not help us in the summertime when we can traditionally get some tropical storms that can drop a lot of rain. But what we're seeing, I think, is what we want to see if it doesn't happen this summer, this fall, which are these Pacific moving fronts that come across the mountain ranges and almost come right over the western recharge areas, and that's what we saw on Wednesday. So if we can get a few more of those through the what is the second wettest month in our forecast, which is June. May and June are pretty wet months for us here, and then the hurricane time, I think September, October, is the highest month when we traditionally see hurricanes. But if we can get a few more storms to get us through what could be a drier summer with the El Nino phenomenon, and then we hopefully with El Nino, the forecasts say that in the fall and winter, it'll be much wetter than normal. And the forecast is talking about a super El Nino, and so it could be even wetter than normal, than the normal El Nino. And so that could help us. So in this water situation we're in, it's just trying to prolong the time, by time, so to speak. And so these rains that we have will help get us through these next couple of months. And if it's dry in the summer, that's okay, because the reservoirs will be at a decent level, not where we want them to be, but better than where they were. And then maybe we pick it back up in the fall. So we can't run the weather. You know, we wish it would rain a lot, but I think the information we're having on the El Nino and the rains we're seeing now is very different than what we've seen in the past 5 years. And so it gives us hope. I think it gives the community hope. And because our system is 100% today, except for our groundwater program, 100% reliant on rain, we need the rain to get through this drought of record. But thank you, Stephanie.
Good morning, Peter. Michael Gibson, Channel 3. Can you guarantee the public and City Council about the desalination plant in the Inner Harbor? Would it not create any additional health risk tied to those forever chemicals? It is right there in the channel.
Right.
And have we tested for the forever chemicals? How much do we have in our water? Would it be able to filter it out?
Okay, Michael Gibson from KIII is asking about forever chemicals. One of them is PFAS, P-F-A-S. It's a forever chemical product that was used in firefighting agents and things like Teflon, I believe. So that there are some traces of Teflon in our water systems. I think I've heard somebody say that, or many people say Teflon, not Teflon, but PFAS is in just about everywhere, right? In today's day and age, given the prolific use of it, before it was scaled back in its use, and it doesn't go away. That's why it's called a forever chemical. Seawater desalination is I think the only treatment process that can safely remove PFAS from water. And so while there is PFAS in the water that's in the ship channel and probably in the bay as well, the only thing that'll remove that is the project recommended for the Inner Harbor, which is a seawater desalination facility. And so the filtration system is robust enough to remove, I think it's 99.9% of the PFAS out of the water. And it doesn't add any more PFAS back into the water. Some of that will be removed with the solids that get taken to the landfill. And then some will go back in with the water that's mixed with the brine and goes back in. But we'll be taking out more PFAS out of the water than we will than not if a seawater desalination facility was there. Thank you, Michael.
Hi, Peter. I have a question.
Okay.
Two questions, and one is kind of more city related, but just because we've been seeing a lot of rain recently, you know, there's a lot of concerns about mosquitoes, and so we're expecting more rain as well next week. So what is the city doing just to address the mosquitoes? If you have any updates on that, I know the city sent a press release last week.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you, Stephanie, for bringing that up from Chris Sick. So I planned on talking about it, but I didn't have it in my notes. So today, probably it may have already gone out. We're putting out a media release and we're updating the city's website because our common cycle, you know, our business program with mosquitoes is right there when we get rain, and so we will begin spraying in two of our quadrants in the city. The south side, the City Council District 5 area, and then the North Beach area. And some may ask, well, how come you're starting there in my backyard? And my neighborhood's even worse than that, right? So the way the city's health district manages mosquito and spraying is there has to be proven traps that have the mosquitoes and the mosquito larvae. And so it's based on a surveillance and using traps that they decide where to go first and second and third. But the media release that's going out today on our website, and for all listening public, every quadrant of our city, all areas will be mosquito or vector controlled. We'll start next week for the whole week, Monday through Friday, in the south side and North Beach areas, and probably by then all these other traps will be full of mosquitoes as well, and so it'll be a cycle of moving around the entire city. So that begins next week. Our website, which up to this point has not been updated because we haven't had to introduce the new cycle for the season, the website will have that schedule on there. It's the city's map, and it has a grid system, and it shows where we're going, and so we can expect to see that starting today.
We have time for one more question.
I'll ask one more question. You know, regarding the recent rain we had, how can that impact the water quality? Because, you know, with the drought, you know, water goes down, there's more minerals. You know, we have seen this in other areas in the past where, you know, because like in Nueces County Water Control Improvement District 3, you know, they have the Nueces River. And so when the water was really down, you know, there was arsenic levels showing up.
Yeah.
So with this recent rain that we're getting, how can that impact our water quality, especially since you mentioned the water rates, you know, because we have to treat water, it costs money. I mean, how can all of that impact the water quality?
Yeah, great. So Stephanie from Chris Six is asking about water quality. So what we have seen is that less water in our reservoirs can introduce what could be harmful constituents like arsenic. And it's not harmful, but can increase TDS levels. More rain or more water introduces other things less harmful, but things that we need to treat in the water. So total suspended solids like dirt. If you see some of the pictures of the rivers in Texas with these rains, they're brown, right? They're not clear. And so our job at Owen Stevens that we've been doing for 100 years is removing all that sedimentation from the water. We have a great team up there that knows how to do this and has been doing it for decades. And so when it does rain like this, there's a lot of turbidity in the river systems. And essentially our job becomes one of removing those solids, the mud, sand, and particulates. And we have a proven way of doing that. It's a proven robust technology using proven methods, and sometimes we have to introduce more agents to get those suspended solids out, so that can increase the cost of water, but that's in the whole annual budget for the system. So it does take a little bit more time. We did see a story on, I think it was 3 rivers that one of the news stations did here. That was the focus on that news story, which is that water that is now more turbid, that has more turbidity, takes a little bit more time and focus, but it's done. It's not unusual. And so our treatment plant is probably doing something very similar with this water. But I would say more rain does not necessarily cause more concern for constituents we don't want to have in the water, like arsenic. It actually helps to dilute those, which is a good thing. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Thank you all very much for coming and asking your excellent questions today and providing good, accurate information to our community. Our next update will be here next Friday, June 5th at 10 a.m. A full recording of today's briefing will be available on our YouTube channel in just a little while this afternoon. Any follow-up inquiries can be sent to Communications Department at corpuschristitx.gov. And that concludes our briefing. Thank you.
For 50 years, Jason's Deli has been built on care, quality, and freshness. We've made it our mission to bring you that freshness in every bite. It's all part of a legacy rooted in doing things the right way and creating moments that bring people together. And we wouldn't have it any other way. Jason's Deli, giving quality a name since 1976.
Yeah, that kind of power. Our best lineup is here. Lowe's.
This video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. I got a new desk for my office, and it moves. This shallow tank has been running for a long time now, but since I'm upgrading to a standing desk, I have an opportunity to build a better aquarium. I guess all good things come to an end. It's never a fun process to take one of these down, unless you're excited about building another one. The parts arrived, And while putting them together, I tried to come up with an aquarium design that would take advantage of a desk that goes up and down. It's very stable, and it comfortably takes a lot of weight, so any sane person would probably just put an aquarium on the desktop. I thought about doing another shallow tank, and maybe it'd be a lot wider. But what if I could hide the thick sand bed in the desk? I'd have to do some cable management and build a stand below. It'd be a lot of extra effort and difficulty, but it wasn't impossible. It'd just be a very easy way for me to ruin the desk. Holes in the bottom would let me attach a filter from below, and then the heater could be hidden inside it. I couldn't have any wires or pipes poking out of the top, because they get in the way of the moving surface. Everything would have to be self-contained, if not hung above or below the tank. As I awkwardly shuffled it into position, all I really knew is that I wanted the scape to have 2 different levels, and I was just going to have to figure out how to make that work. I have to design around the pipe connection that's in each back corner, but otherwise I'm just going to start placing rocks and see where they take me. I'm thinking about a wall around the edges with lots of little caves, but I can't safely lean anything on the glass, so it'll have to be freestanding. The pieces will have to interlock like a jigsaw for maximum structural strength, and to eliminate any chance of falling rocks, every contact point will have to be reinforced with bonding sponge and some glue. As long as the foundation is solid, I can keep building higher before arching over to form a ceiling. Water will come in from behind the rockwork, so there won't be any cold or stagnant areas around the back. Then after flowing through all the little cracks and crevices, it will be drawn upwards, where a bed of aquasoil will be the nutrient layer for a completely different environment. The whole thing will be covered in plants, but I've left a few holes for light to penetrate the ground, as well as soil and roots and maybe fish. To be honest, I'm most interested to see which animals prefer the top area and which prefer the darkness below. The plants down here won't have the privilege of choosing, so they're going to have to be pretty hardy, unless they can grow tall enough to reach out the skylight. Covering up the soil should